What's going on, guys? My name is YellowS2K and welcome to my review of MXGP Pro. I waited a little bit to make this review until I played the game enough to really be able to tell you what I think about it, the pros, the cons, and also show you everything that there is in the game. Again, most of this is more about the writing and the gameplay, but I do want to show you guys everything there is to offer in the game. And we'll try to do that pretty quickly. If you hop into single player, you have your normal Grand Prix, so you're going to be able to hop in here and just set up a race weekend. Now, it's worth showing you at least the riders that you have. Obviously, you can use your custom rider, or you can go through all of the MXGP guys like Cairoli, Paulin, Fevra, all the top guys, and as well as your MX2 guys. So pretty cool to have all those bikes in. It's actually taking a second to load. It doesn't normally do that. That's on my end. But yeah, the KTM, Red Bull team, like all of those teams and those real bikes, the OEMs are in here from the start, so it's worth mentioning. As far as tracks go, just what you would expect. All of the tracks in the MXGP circuit, everything that we've come used to and have played in the previous games, but there are changes depending on the season and what tracks are ridden. As well as at the end, we have our compound, so you can actually free ride this area, and there's an MX track and a Supercross track. I'll probably show you a little bit of that. But yeah, so you have the tracks, you have the riders, and then as far as your race options, the cool thing is weather. Just a wet track, or it's actually raining at the time. Two totally different looks, cloudy, clear, and you can just set it on random. But it's really, really cool, and the traction is definitely the thing that shines the most in this game. You can do your qualifying, you can do both races, just a single race, or a full weekend where it's the whole shebang. It's pretty cool that you have the variety here: quick, short, medium, and realistic length. Now, realistic length would be 30 minutes plus 2 laps, and you have to do 2 motos. So it gets pretty crazy. Obviously, a realistic difficulty is pretty much where I would expect most people to put that. They are challenging, but anything less than that and they're kind of weak. But your normal physics, you can change that. Pro is just the way to go, and that locks it where you can use a rear brake and a front brake separately. Your rider weight is manual, so you can actually shift that around and with no aid, and then you can change your transmission, but I always go manual and no rewind. So it's just cool to show you guys those options, because that's always one that's nice to know what is available. Now, time attack, pretty obvious. You go to those tracks, pick your rider, whatever, and set your best time. Championship, you can set a full custom championship and change all the different rounds, like edit championship, and boom, you can shift things around, move it around, and make it exactly what you want. And I might be doing some of this for a YouTube series and set it up just perfect. I'm going to be doing a 125 series. Alright, another thing definitely worth showing you guys is the customization. I know everybody wants to know. I'm going to try to fly through this really quickly, so it won't really, I can't show everything. It'll take far too long. But as far as your gear, it's pretty cool. You do have a lot of options, as always. It seems like every game's going this way. Now, I do have this rider fully customized, but you can see helmets. You come in and there are a huge amount of options. It just depends on what you want to do. It just gets crazy. I guess I can show you Thor, for example. Just a ton of different helmets, and it's this way with helmets, goggles, gear, neck braces, boots, and then it's actually the same for components on your bike. So you can see just tons and tons of options here. Von Zipper, for example, just a lot of variety. So cool. It seems like every game is really nailing the customization now. I think they realize how important the customization is in a game like this. It's just really cool. So helmet, goggles, obviously your suit, you're just riding gear. Again, tons of options from newer companies like Seven, and some that I'm not fully, like Kenny, I've never seen that before, but all the stuff that you really do want to see, Troy Lee, you can get pretty crazy with some of the gear. But all the customization you can imagine for everything, you can really just make it exactly how you want. So anyway, that shows you guys all of the different customization for your rider. May as well hop in and check out bike. Now we can look, for example, this KTM 450. You have multiple configurations if you want to make it set up for different things, which is pretty cool. You could have like 5 different bikes built with custom parts, things like that. Components, you get in here, same situation as the gear. If you want pro taper bars, there's tons of different options. You get to grips, bar pad, hand guards, exhaust, always a fun one. I've got this Yoshimura exhaust on here. You could go up to FMF, for example. Tons of stuff you can run. Tons of options. Tires, rims, you can do different hub colors, things like that. Suspension, I've got Öhlins on it right now, but if you wanted to switch it up, you could do something a little bit different. It actually looks pretty sick. Brake disc, rear sprocket. Now the other thing is you can change your graphics, so there's all kinds of different options for graphics. Tons of different stuff here, as well as you can change the component colors. So you might notice I have black triple clamps. You can change the color of your foot pegs, for example. I have those black. I have the clutch guard that is orange. You can see here on the side of the bike. You can change whatever color you want. So that's pretty cool to have that level of customization both with your rider and with your bike, and it's definitely worth showing because it's pretty sick. The other thing worth mentioning is if you hop into the career, there's a standard career, and then there is a extreme career here, and the extreme career is basically all the realistic difficult settings and all that are locked, and it's the full weekend, 2 races, 230 plus 2 motos, and it's just, that's a pretty serious thing. I might be doing a series of that, but that's quite a commitment. I mean, it'd be like an hour and a half or so per weekend, so we'll see. But if you hop into a standard career, I'll load where I'm at right now just for the hell of it, and it'll show you a little bit how the career works. Now I'm going to show you just a little bit of Qatar. It's just the first track here, but it's on a 125 that's modified enough where it's pretty cool. I think I want to show you a little bit of this, then I'll probably cut to some gameplay that I've done in multiplayer with 450s, and I'll show you a little bit of wet riding, things like that, just so you get an overview of what this game looks like at all, everything it has to offer, you know, the dry stuff on a 125 as well as 450 in wet and dry. So we'll try to show you that stuff now. We're just going to live hop in here to the race 2 here. I'm going to have to back out, but we'll do a little bit of this so you can see what a 125 is like. It is really fun. Probably my favorite bike to ride in the game right now. Now again, these guys are on realistic difficulty, so you can always cheat on that start. It's one of the worst starts out of all the tracks. And I have played the game quite a bit, just not that much career. I've been doing a lot of multiplayer. But just ripping that 125, oh no, that's what we get. So that's going to be a mess, but at least I can show you a little bit of what the AI is like to try to come through the pack. That's probably one of the best things, honestly, to show you guys in a review. And then I'll switch to me just putting in good laps on a 450 to show you guys a little bit more of what the gameplay is like when you're really focused and hitting good lines and good laps, things like that. So the AI is pretty one-lined. I mean, they do float around, no doubt, but they're one-lined and they're a little bit of a pain to get by. So sometimes if you're in a multiplayer lobby or something and they have the AI turned on, it is a huge challenge to get through the pack. Oh, I forgot about that. You usually have to slow up. I'm surprised I didn't go down. So the AI is just a little wonky and difficult to get past sometimes. But as far as physics of the game, the big things to mention are you have to be careful. Now it's a little bit different on a 125 than it is a 450, and I've been ripping the 450 a whole bunch. So, oh, we got that double even on the 125. Those guys weren't getting it. Try to get by. But the big things with this game really are the traction, and I think it's the biggest strength. The way you can feel the bike slipping, but there's a fine line, and you can go over it really easy and crash. So you really want to pay attention, be gentle, and it's the same thing with jumping. If you over jump or if you under jump, typically, I mean, I know I just showed you guys kind of an oddball thing where I should have gone down there, but typically it is very finicky. Like, you really have to hit the landings on everything pretty smooth. And as well as your corners, you can swap, you can slide out really easy, and honestly I think that's a positive. It's not just a gimmick, like let's make it hard for the sake of being hard and then people will enjoy it or think it's like a sim. It's not a sim, it's an arcade game, but it really has a fun line to try to toe where if you go over that line, you're screwed. So you really try to keep it nice and tidy, and it's a challenge, and it makes it really rewarding to put in consistent laps over and over again, especially if you're doing something like multiplayer and you're all battling and no one's going down and you're able to just hold a really good battle the whole time. So it's just definitely the most rewarding MXGP game that I've ever played. It's really, honestly, it's good. I would definitely recommend picking this game up. Now this is 125, so obviously you can imagine it gets a little bit different as we go. I'm gonna back out now and show you a little bit of gameplay on the 450, both wet and dry. And yeah, it should be a good opportunity to showcase the real physics of the 450, which is what everyone's wanting. So here we are at a dry race. All these clips that I'm going to show you are for some multiplayer races that I did with Moto a Go-Go and Triptez. It was just a ton of fun. We just blocked out some time and played some of the game. It was my chance to really get used to all of the physics and how it handles. And it was really my chance to learn about the game and improve. So this is a pretty cool track. It's one of those that's really quick. So it's one of those fast, dry tracks, but it's fun because you can see this, and then we'll jump into a little bit of the wet track, and then at the end I'll show you a little bit of the track while it's raining. And they're all a little bit different. They look different, and the handling is really cool. You can see during the day I'm able to push it pretty hard in the corners. I'm still sliding around a little bit, and I'm shredding that balance, but at the end, the dry is a lot more predictable, I guess I would say. It definitely gives you a little feedback where you can tread that line a little bit easier and just be on top of things. Now, when you get into the wet, you really have to dial it back another notch and ride a little bit differently, which is really cool. In the last games, the wet, you could just haul ass. In all the games that have had a little bit of rain,
is it near, does this track
it's not been great.
The bike down more than the others?
So you'll hear some commentary talking back and forth with Triptez and Moto. We're just having a good time, and that's really where this game shines, is in multiplayer, playing with other people and just having these battles. Now, I don't think these laps show any great battles, but it shows more what it takes to be somewhat competitive. You really do have to think really hard, especially if you're playing with good people like Moto and Triptez. You really do have to hit your lines, hit them consistently, push that limit, but know where you can't cross it. So it's just really fun, and I think that's what this game does so well. There's a lot of haters that are like, you know, you overjump things, you crash too easy, or you slide out too easy. It's like, well, once you get used to it and get comfortable, you can really find that line and not cross it, and that's what it's all about. You know, it's all about minimizing those mistakes. And when you have a game that is arcadey and pretty easy to pick up, but then you blend into it some difficulty of traction or precision with overjumping or casing, things like that. Like, look, my back end just boom, kicked out, and I could have avoided it. I just was doing something wrong. I got on the gas, cut it too tight, whatever it may be. So anyway, that shows you a little bit what it's like in the dry. And how brutal it can be. I mean, look, this is right before the last corner, and I was just wadding it and crashing. So you have to be on point. This here shows just a wet race. Now, the one thing to note is it's really cool, the water that's standing on the track, and you'll see that even more in the race where it's raining. That'll show you a little bit next. Now, in the wet, it's sloppy, it's difficult, lines develop. Look at that slide down that hill. You really have to be careful, and especially on the 450, you have to feather that throttle out of corners. You can't just mash it like you could in other games, or most games really. It's really forgiving, but in this, you'll notice I'm really blipping it and I'm being gentle. You can see the RPMs in the bottom right. I try to rev it out, but at times I really have to feather it or blip the throttle, whatever. And it's so much fun charging, especially in multiplayer where you're all dealing with that difficult track and you want to try to find the best way around it. So again, that is one of the things that really shines in this game. The traction is just spot on as far as I'm concerned. Now, it's worth mentioning, sometimes it can be a little inconsistent and you hit like a hole you didn't expect to hit and you crash, and it's kind of a bummer. That stuff can really suck. So that's something I'd like to see fixed, where maybe you're cross-rutting, maybe you're hitting a hole, whatever it is, but it's hard to tell. So sometimes you'll just crash without much warning. But I do think it is, in most cases, making a mistake one way or another. It's not totally the game's fault. So that's worth mentioning. But let's hop into the rain race. You can see the differences. Look how the water really holds on the track, and as you go around and you like rut things up, you can see the puddles getting bigger and bigger depending on the lines, and the water holds in those ruts that you just created. It's really, really cool, and it looks nice. It's just a ton of fun. So there you can see at least the wide range of weather, and I think that obviously traction goes hand in hand with the weather. They nailed the rain, they nailed the water on the track, and it's just really where this game shines.
Just those tiny
so that's worth mentioning there. But overall, I'd say this game is definitely worth picking up. I mean, look how much fun you can have.
He knows I'm there. Oh no, and I blew the berm.
Moto's yelling, Triptez is yelling. We're all having a ton of fun. And it's just good battles. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Pick up this game. You won't regret it. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.